Welcome to Good Life. I'm Dean Wilson. I'm so glad you're with us today. You can always find us at goodlifetelevision.org, where you can see all the interviews. There's a lot of great people, a lot of great stories. And then we kind of break up the full interviews into what we call power clips. And so there's kind of some of the gold, some of the great moments from those interviews are in those power clips. So we'd love to have you join us there. We're on all the social media platforms. It's been really exciting to see so many of you join us from all around the world, and we're grateful. The purpose here is to honor, to encourage, to inspire, to educate, and to empower. And so that's why we're here. And we have a lot of great guests that help us do that. So thanks for joining us. My guest today is Kirk Pickering. Welcome, Curt.
Thank you.
I'm really excited about this. I've been reading all about you over the last couple of days, and we were just talking off there, but I want to talk about kind of you've had a remarkable career. You've had a really interesting life, and I want to get to that in a second. But why don't we start with kind of where were you born, where were you brought up, kind of your family?
Yeah, I was born in Midland, Michigan, and lived my first 23 years in Michigan, attended Spring Arbor University, a small college.
Oh, yeah.
And I really lacked self-confidence growing up, and I worked in a car factory for a year out of high school. I just wanted to make money, and I didn't feel confident about going to college. And 1 year of working in a car factory, man, that really had me fleeing to Spring Arbor University. It was the best decision I ever made to go to college, and ended up playing college basketball, and that just was a springboard to. I always knew as a young kid I wanted to be a coach. And
really?
Yes, and that's the one thing I did have confidence in. And so basketball became very much my identity.
Huh. Wow. Spring Arbor, the Westmont president was the president there before, wasn't he?
That's right.
Gail Beebe. Yeah, that's neat. And so you made it you played at Spring Arbor, then you ended up getting a degree in sports psychology and coaching at Texas Wesleyan, right?
Yes, in Fort Worth.
Yeah. How did you end up?
That's kind of a unique story, too, because I'd been at Marion College for 2 years. I was teaching at a junior high school and coaching as the assistant with my beloved friend Rocky Kent, bless his soul. He passed on 2 years ago. And after 2 years, I knew I needed a master's degree because now I had this desire to be a head college coach. And I went to see my high school buddy in Arlington, Texas, and I had this coaching directory book, and it said Texas Wesleyan University with no assistant coach listed on there. So I went over to the campus, and I ran into some of the players, and this was at Christmas break, and they said, yeah, coach really needs an assistant. He's a great guy, but he could really use one. And I just had goosebumps, that, man, God, I could sure use your help here. And within 2 days, I got hired there. And this man, Coach Johnny Howerton, didn't even know me. But within 2 days, he gave me free education, free place to live, meals 7 days a week, a stipend. And sadly, cutting to the chase, 8 months later, he took his life. And he'd gone through a difficult divorce, and on the day of the first game of my second year coaching there, he took his life, and I became head coach there at age 26. Very wet behind the ears.
Yeah. Wow. And
I might add an all-black team too, and I love those guys.
Yeah.
I mean, we went through so much, and 13 of the 15 did not have fathers. And I was more of a brother. I was 26. I mean,
right.
Some of these guys were 22, 23. And, that was so difficult for them because most of them was on their second and third chance. And Johnny Howerton gave them opportunity. And when I go back to Dallas, I see them, and we all just, in reverence, we talk about what Coach Howerton did for all of us.
Wow. And how long were you there? How long did you?
I was there 2 years,
Okay.
and then I moved on to John Brown University in Arkansas. And from there,
you head coach.
as head coach, yes. And then I got the call to Europe, and next thing you know, I'm in Vienna, Austria, and what a fabulous experience. And yeah, I guess I had a little that wild, adventurous streak in me because I love to travel and live in different cultures: Kuwait, Dubai, Venezuela, China, and with that, it doesn't leave much room for a family life. But finally, at age 40, I became a father, and that's the greatest gift I've ever had in life is being a father to my son.
And Sage is 23, lives in Austin, Texas.
That's
we were
right.
talking about him. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have been all over you've coached all over the world. I mean, it's remarkable and interesting. I mean, in terms of basketball, I mean, you've kind of done everything. I mean, I was reading, I mean, you've been a scout, NBA scout, you've been a head coach, you've been player personnel, you've owned a team, you've kind of been all over the board. And as I was thinking about your basketball life and your travels and all these different places you've been, it's kind of like basketball is one thing that's kind of a common denominator with all these places. I mean, in essence, still the same game, 10 feet, rim,
Right.
I mean, it's interesting how that kind of brings people together, in essence. Well, how would you characterize the differences in your experiences in different places, or kind of what were some of the highlights?
I would say first that, even when there's a language barrier, basketball brings cultures together.
Yeah.
And whenever I'd go to China, we were there 12 times. I'm 6'4", was blonde hair, but, life has its way of changing things like
You're
that.
still blonde hair.
But it's amazing what a smile can do. It can break the ice,
Right.
and it can lead to somehow you find a translator. So it's amazing what we can do. We don't have to be the ugly American and like just give a stern, non-expressional look. It's amazing what a smile can do. But that's really one of the biggest highlights is the friendships that I have. My players in Kuwait, that I love them. I can easily say I love them, and I'm a believer of God and Jesus, and for my Muslim brothers that I love, I'm not going to let that be a division. Because they love that. To me, that's the most important.
Yes.
Example that we can be to each other is just to love. So
Yeah.
it's not about religion,
Yeah.
And in Vienna, one of my players, he's now a multi-millionaire building hotels throughout Europe, and he flew me back there and my family back in 2000, and he paid for everything, and we had a big reunion because we'd won this championship in '86. We played against Vlade Divac and Drazen Petrovic, and we didn't beat them in the European Cup, but we won our league in Vienna in Austria, and that was a big thing to win a championship there. So
Wow.
we had this we were there for 8 days, and so we celebrated for several days with all the players. I still have fans that they invited me during that week to their home for dinner. So those are things you never forget.
Yeah.
The wins are great. I've got a few trophies, but it's relationships.
Right. Yeah, and a 6'4" blonde guy probably stands out in most places in the world, actually.
So, other than Holland, I was just another guy over there.
Take me back to 1985. You end up in the NBA Summer League coaching. Talk about what that was like. And then I know you built a special relationship with one of our own here in Santa Barbara, California, Bill Burtka. Yep. Talk about that.
Yeah, that's a beautiful part of my life because I was finishing up at John Brown University, and I got on the phone with Larry Krager, who owned the NBA Summer League, which is now in Las Vegas. And he was from Iowa, I'm from Michigan. We developed a friendship over the phone. And the next thing you know, in late June, I went out to Los Angeles and met Larry, and he and I hit it off, and his wife, Darlene, a wonderful lady. Next thing you know, I'm living in their home with them, but boy, I'll tell you what, we are working sun up to sundown because that's what it called for. The games were at Loyola Marymount University, and there was several weeks of tryouts for all these players flying in from 50 states, quite frankly. During that time, I met a gentleman named Bill Burka with the Lakers, who lives here in Santa Barbara, and that's the reason I've lived here 32 years, because he became my mentor. Yeah. And he was instrumental in my first NBA job with New Jersey Nets, and he's been that source of wisdom for me.
Yeah, what a legend he is.
He's a legend.
In terms of Laker land, I mean, everybody's come and gone. How many head coaches in Bill Burtka's tenure? How many players have come and gone and come again? Bill Burtka's just right there. I mean, he was with Riley. I mean, he was on Riley's staff, right? And then
yes.
he just has stayed. They never fired him. I mean, he never,
I call him John Wayne Teflon Tough because he's 93 years old and he's still standing.
He's 93.
Yes.
Oh my goodness! And still active. I mean, he's still moving.
Very active, and he still exercises. Wow. He's like wine.
Right. Does he have like I think I saw a newspaper article or something. Does he have like a memorabilia collection in his home?
I'll just say this. I took him to the Dreyer Museum when they had an amazing array of sports and movie memorabilia years ago. And I took Bill to it, and there was Shaq, 7'3" model, and the big shoes and all, but there was everything there, Muhammad Ali, etc. But if you want to go to a shrinery that focuses on NBA basketball, going back to the 50s, starting with the Santa Maria Dukes, Bill Burka, I will not give his address out because there would be 600 cars lining up trying to get
right.
in there,
Right.
I'll keep that a privacy, but it's amazing.
Wow.
And my favorite player, Pistol Pete Maravich, he has so much apparel and sports magazines, and Bill worked for the New Orleans Jazz, and he was the man that created the trade for Pete to go from Atlanta Hawks to New Orleans.
Really? Wow. I want to talk about the Breakers and the kind of the 10-year run and the experience you've had here as an owner of a basketball team here in Santa Barbara, California, where we are, and kind of what that was like. I know you guys won, I think, 4 out of 5 years or something like that. Then you won the championship in the league, but you were the owner and the coach.
Yes.
And I think you had some great local talent come through. But talk a little about that experience and kind of what that was like.
That really begins with my son's birth, because I'd been coaching in Dubai, and we could have gone back there. I had offers, Japan and China, but when my son was born at Cottage Hospital, they'd be 3 times they called out, "We got a blue baby." He would stop breathing, and it was terrifying.
Really?
Here my son's been born, but now he has these issues, and they had him in ICU. So 5 days later, he came home, fortunately, and he's been healthy ever since. But I did not want to go overseas because doctors wanted to monitor him. So I had worked the Michael Jordan camp at UCSB, met a lot of people from Montecito, and that had their kids in the camp, and they had said, "Well, we wish there was some type of program for our kids during the school year." And when I was without job, there come October of 1997, I called these parents, and we started with 17 kids at Montecito Union. And I have to say, once Rob Lowe and Kathy Ireland's kids signed up, it grew to 400 a week, because the parents wanted to see Rob and Kathy, because they would show up and watch their kids. You know, I would train the kids in fundamentals in a very positive way. So I did that full time for 10 years, and I loved it, the Montecito Basketball Academy. And I have so many good relationships and so many Christmas cards from them that I've never thrown away. But I had this itch to bring a minor league basketball team back, because I moved here 32 years ago thanks to Bill Burka. The Lakers had a pro minor league team called the Santa Barbara Islanders. It was a phenomenal team. And we had 10 guys that went back to the NBA. It was an amazing group. And,
wow.
And Shirley Otto was the owner. She's 93, good friends with Bill Burka, and lives here in Montecito. And I just had the itch to bring that back. And so I, you know, on the internet, I found this league, IBL, there was already 2 teams in California, one in Phoenix, one in Las Vegas. So budget-wise, I felt like, okay, there's some teams in this area that, you know, you create some home team rivalry, and then you travel some. And in 2006, we had a press conference at Fess Parker Hotel, and it was a 10-year run. It was wonderful. And then when the Pacers came calling, it was time for me to stop writing checks out, you know, for what it required owning a team. And it's like, oh, wow, this is nice. Herb Simon's signing a check to me.
Right,
you know?
Right.
And that felt real good.
Yeah, right. I was at, I think, the first Breakers game at City College, right? Yeah.
City College.
It was a great environment you guys created. But and there was a couple guys that I knew. Tito Mays. Do you remember Tito?
Yes, I sure do. Yeah.
Okay, he lived with us for 5 years.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, great guy.
Yeah, athlete.
Oh, exceptional.
Incredible athlete.
Real close to Santiago.
Well, yeah, I was going to say, Santiago was my brother's roommate at Westmont.
Oh, yeah, here's the connection.
Talk about a local talent. And I know Shante
sure.
Leggins and Dos Pueblos product.
Yeah.
But you had some great local guys that got great opportunity to play at that level, which I think is wonderful.
Yeah. It was about helping, you know, springboard players that were looking to get back in the NBA, or good paying jobs overseas, or for the love of the game, and that were highly, you know, worthy of, based on their skills and character, because I was real big on character. I wanted good people. Yeah. Well, those two, you don't get any better in the character guys. Category.
Yeah, and then there were some ex-NBA. I mean, I remember like Samaki Walker or some of these guys that came
Fred
up.
Vincent, Toby Bailey.
Right, Toby Bailey.
Lamont
UCLA.
Murray.
Yeah.
Keith Kloss, he's a great story. 7'3". He calls himself peanut butter because he's very light-skinned. But when in 2008 we took the team to China, he went with us, and I'll never forget this one practice. He says, "Curt, do you mind if I miss practice? I'll tell you about it later, what I'm doing." I said, "No problem." I just had a real respect for him. And he was a good man, and he'd been through hell and back in his life and in his NBA career. He'd played with the Clippers. After that practice, we were all going to the U.S. Embassy and to go visit and meet people there. And he got on the bus. He came to me. He says, "I want to show you something." He had this silver coin, and it showed that he'd had 1 year of sobriety of alcohol, and he was so proud of it. And he said, "Man, there was over 40 people, and they're from all over the globe, from different countries." He says, "I feel like I have all these new brothers, you know, in common." And you know, he's been staying strong ever since 2008, and that's part of why we had the Breakers too. You know, is if we can if there's anything we could experience or be a part of in their personal life, it goes beyond basketball.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you said it earlier. I mean, it's really about relationships.
It is.
I mean, it's just, and there's something about that, a team where there's this brotherhood and this, you build relationships because you're with each other every day, or I mean, you're grinding, you're winning, you're losing, you're having all these experiences together that really does bring people together. That's something great about sports, I think. I mean, it's a unique thing. So talk about we only have a few minutes left, but scouting. So you joined the Indiana Pacers as a scout.
Yes.
And what was that like? I mean, what's the life of an NBA scout?
Well, it's exciting. I'll tell you why it was exciting, and I'll compare it. When I was with New Jersey Nets in the 80s and 90s, they had me traveling everywhere, and I was single, So, man, I didn't think twice about getting on a plane and flying from either Santa Barbara or LA to Portland or wherever, and you go see all these players, and you're taking in all this data of individual players, and you do reports. I turned it into Willis Reed, my boss. But
Willis Reed was your boss?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Good man. Really good man.
Wow.
And then you fast forward to my years with the Pacers. They had me focus on NBA rosters and the G League players for possible trades and free agent signings. And I only went to Staples Center. I did go to a couple Gaucho games, but I went to Staples Center, and then I would go to the Clipper and Laker minor league, the G League team games. And all I did was focus on individual players. And I really enjoyed that because, that's kind of been my first love. I love coaching, but I also love, really dissecting player talent and trying, watching their demeanor on the floor, sitting on the bench. There's so much intel that you can pick up on, that you're looking for that player that, really plays hard, is consistent. He's got to have skill, but you're looking for those other characteristics.
Right.
And so I really enjoyed, putting all those scouting reports together and giving my presentations when the scouts would all fly up to Indianapolis and talk about the players that we really thought had a chance to make it.
That's really interesting to me. So you landed in Santa Barbara because of Bill Berkowitz. How do you we only have a couple minutes, but how do you like Santa Barbara and the community, how's it been for you to be here for 3 decades?
Well, growing up in Michigan, right now it's probably 27 degrees there. The ground is frozen, and I don't miss that at all.
Right.
You cannot beat this climate.
Yeah.
Santa Barbara, it is paradise. Before I lived here, I lived in Dallas, Fort Worth, and when I lived there, I thought, this is where I want to, live and die. And so
then summer came along.
you are spot on, because 2019, I went back to Dallas. Donnie Nelson, a close friend of mine that's the president of the Mavericks, and he asked me to help run his pro minor league baseball team, which, by the way, was 19 of the 25 players were all Chinese. They had their national team there grooming them for Olympics. And so I was senior consultant helping manage that. And he also sent me to India to meet with cricket owners. He wants to bring cricket. I mean, Donnie Nelson's just like his dad, Don. They're innovators. And so I spent 3 months in Dallas, Texas. I couldn't wait to get back home here. That humidity was crazy.
Melting.
Yeah. So there's no better place than Santa Barbara. And I have, wonderful friends, and it's just very peaceful here.
Yeah, that's wonderful. What a life, what a career. Congratulations on everything. It's great to be with you, and it's fascinating. So congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Thanks for coming on. We'll see you next time.